Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit BillHowe.com. And by the Conrad Trebas Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Chula Vista's police chief says some city leaders are trying to force her out. Thanks for joining us. I'm John Carroll in for Maya Trabulsi. The chief claims it stems from an incident that happened at a holiday party. KPBS reporter Jacob Ayer says she's getting public support from citizens and faith leaders.
One by one, pastors from around Chula Vista went to the microphone at Tuesday's city council meeting to speak out in support of Police Chief Roxana Kennedy.
It's not by accident that Chula Vista, in comparison to other cities, is a safe city. It is a city where law enforcement is not an enemy, but an ally. And I'm grateful for that. An ally to its citizens and the ones that they have made an oath to protect and serve. It's a direct reflection of Chief Roxana's Kennedy's leadership, and we are grateful for that.
And I think I'm really hurt because she deserves better.
Yes, yes.
I don't think you heard me. She deserves better.
Yes, she does.
She was loyal and faithful to every one of you that are here today.
Yes.
They joined dozens of members of the public who spoke in favor of Kennedy. They came after seeing news reports about Kennedy's allegations that city officials are trying to force her out.
She's been there over 30 years. She's been chief since, roughly 10 years, a little under 10 years. She's got nothing but praise.
Corey Briggs is Kennedy's attorney. He says city leaders are using something that happened at a police union holiday party as a reason to remove her. It involved off-duty officers who were dancing. Briggs says one individual took off his shirt and swung it around his head during the contest.
And the chief went up. She had a dollar bill in each hand, and she put one in each of his front pockets. That's it. Didn't touch him, didn't do anything else, wasn't dancing. Then she turned around, took a bow for the audience, and everybody there started laughing and clapping.
Briggs says city staff told Kennedy they received complaints about her conduct at the event and were going to audit the police department. But he says he believes some city leaders are looking for a reason to get rid of Kennedy, to bring in someone else.
You've got a supermajority of Latinos on the city council. I think they want someone who looks more like them to be the chief. And they didn't have the spine to sit down with Chief Kennedy and say, look, we want to go in a different direction.
Briggs sent the city a letter asking it to preserve all evidence related to the incident and alleged adverse actions against Kennedy. The city declined an interview, but they sent us a statement saying the police chief is on approved personal leave. And the city rejects the accusation in Briggs' letter, saying the suggestion that there was a conspiracy to replace the chief is entirely false. It also notes 4 council members are Latino and says the assertion that a majority of them want to replace Kennedy with a Latino is offensive and rooted in a racist assumption that Latino leaders cannot act with professionalism and integrity. The city said they cannot comment on the holiday party due to legal constraints. Briggs said Kennedy is on approved medical leave until the end of February. Jacob Ayer, KPBS News.
After our showers continue to pull east, we're going to begin to dry back out through the rest of the week. Tonight we'll get down to 52 into San Diego, 42 in Ramona. Similarly, chillier into Borrego Springs at 42. Mount Laguna, you get down to 35 tonight. And the rest of the week will be drier. But looking ahead, look at this. Next week, we get right back into a much wetter pattern. In fact, far wetter than we were this Wednesday. We'll look at that in just a little bit.
Rady Children's Hospital is reversing course on its decision to end gender-affirming care. A judge ruled today that Rady will continue to provide gender-affirming care, other than surgeries, for patients under 19 years old. Last month, Rady announced it would no longer offer the services because of threats by the Trump administration to cut off Medicare and Medicaid funding. California's Attorney General's office sued, alleging the hospital was ending services unlawfully. California's Attorney General is highlighting reports by KPBS and others in an effort to help Somali-run daycare centers know their rights as victims of harassment and hate crimes. Rob Bonta issued the alert this afternoon. In it, he mentions the recent reports of online political influencers who have visited local daycare facilities. The Attorney General's press release describes the activities as stalking and intimidation and says it's considered a hate crime in California to target people because of actual or perceived nationality. You can find the recent story by Andrew Dyer at kpbs.org and the KPBS YouTube page. Caltrans is preparing to make changes to the carpool lanes on Interstates 5 and 805. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen says the addition of tolling is meant to help manage rush hour traffic.
Congestion on the 5 and 805 is often just as bad in the HOV lanes as on the rest of the freeway. Caltrans says that's because many of the carpool lane users are actually solo drivers, cheating the system. As soon as 2030, the agency plans to start converting the HOV lanes into tolled express lanes, similar to those on I-15. Alan Kossip is Chief Deputy Director at Caltrans District 11.
Part of the express lanes is to build a system that can manage the right number of people in the lane. We don't want those lanes to be empty or to be underutilized, so we're trying to manage the number of people that can actually use it. And the way we do that is through pricing.
Express lanes are open to solo drivers willing to pay a toll, while carpoolers can use them for free or at a discount. The toll goes up during peak travel times and down when congestion eases. The I-15 express lanes in North County can cost between 50 cents and $8. That revenue goes toward maintaining the infrastructure and offering alternatives to driving, including a rapid bus line from Escondido to downtown.
We always knew that at some point they were going to need to evolve from HOVs to express lanes, and so that's always been part of the vision. And I think now we've determined now it's the time to make that switch, just because we're not getting what we had hoped out of the HOVs because of those violators.
Caltrans is launching a survey to gather feedback on the plans, including ideas for how to spend the toll revenue. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
Automated license plate reading cameras is a hot-button topic for privacy advocates in San Diego and throughout California. Now, another community is debating the issue after Alameda County supervisors delayed their decision on whether to extend their contract with a company called Flock. Monica Madden has more.
Safety cameras solve crime.
Public safety advocates calling on Alameda County supervisors to renew their contract with Flock.
If we don't have enough bodies, then we need technology to fill in the gap.
A one-year extension of the county's contract with Flock would cost $854,000, up from the current $550,000. But supervisors voted Tuesday to delay a decision amid scrutiny of the surveillance company.
Flock is just terrible. And please do not fund tech billionaires. Fund our city, support our city.
The board acknowledging opponents' privacy concerns.
I think it's really important to recognize that under this particular administration, there are things happening that are not normal, including the potential for surveillance.
California state law prohibits the federal government or other states from accessing publicly funded data from license plate readers. In a January statement, Flock said it does not work with ICE or sub-agencies in DHS, writing, quote, "Every piece of data collected by Flock license plate readers is owned and controlled by the customer." Adding that, quote, "Any access to Flock by a federal agency, if it occurs at all, must be explicitly granted by a local customer and must comply with applicable law." The Alameda County Sheriff's Office says the system has helped them arrest violent offenders and recover stolen cars, something supporters say must be prioritized.
Nothing is going to be perfect, but we have to use the tools that we have.
Show me where a deportation was because of flock cameras. Prove that to me, because all of this is speculative.
Supervisors will reconsider the contract during an April 21st meeting.
Monica Madden with that report. KPBS did an investigation into how local police agencies access flock cameras with systems with minimal oversight. You can find that story and more on our YouTube channel. That's also where we live stream Evening Edition weekdays at 5. Subscribe and get notified when new content is posted.
I'm Amna Nawaz. Tonight on the NewsHour, drones and drug cartels. The conflicting explanations for what led to the closure of El Paso's airspace. That's coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was at the White House today to discuss developments in Iran with President Trump. The trip comes as the U.S. attempts to broker a diplomatic nuclear deal with Tehran while pressuring the country with threats of military intervention. Brian Abel reports from the White House.
In the midst of negotiations between the U.S. and Iran, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu coming to the White House today to meet with President Donald Trump on short notice to inject Israel's interest into negotiations. Netanyahu making his way from nearby Blair House to the South Lawn here of the White House around 11 this morning, marking the 6th face-to-face meeting with President Trump on U.S. soil since the start of Trump's second term. Also greeting Netanyahu, people just outside of Blair House protesting his Gaza policies. Before making the trip, the Prime Minister said this of his journey. I will present the President with our views regarding the essential principles of the negotiations. Principles that, in our eyes, are vital not only for Israel, but for anyone in the world who desires peace and security in the Middle East. That work began even before today's meeting between the two world leaders, as U.S. Middle East Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and President Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, met with Netanyahu after his Tuesday arrival in D.C., an arrival that was originally scheduled for a week later, but pushed forward at Netanyahu's request after seeing Trump appear to make a 180 on Iran, signaling just weeks ago that a strike on Iran could happen at any moment. Now turning to a diplomatic route to try to get Iran to agree to a nuclear and ballistic missiles reduction deal while keeping military pressure on the regime with a carrier strike group in the region. Israeli sources say Netanyahu plans to share with President Trump intelligence on Iran's nuclear capabilities, but also discuss potential military options with the U.S. president against Iran. One of the sources said Israel remains skeptical that negotiations between the U.S. and Iran will succeed, but Netanyahu is working to ensure Israeli interests are protected. This meeting today, closed press, so official word on how this all plays out and how influential Netanyahu will ultimately be on the negotiations still to be seen. At the White House, Brian Abel reporting.
Melting glaciers and eroding coastlines are two signs of a changing climate. Scientists have studied those changes from space for years. They use lasers to measure ice and forests. KPBS reporter Katie Anastas says NASA is now tapping a UC San Diego professor to lead a new satellite mission.
Helen Fricker is a glaciologist, but it wasn't a visit to Antarctica that introduced her to her field of study. It was a measurement technique called altimetry. It's done using a satellite orbiting the Earth.
On board is a laser. So it's a bit like a laser pointer. It's red. So red laser, and it is sending a laser pulse from the satellite to the ground and back, and measuring how long it takes.
Scientists use those measurements to figure out the height of the ice. Fricker says it's like a metal detector. It tells you where to take a closer look.
You use the satellites to kind of find the bing, 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 flashing red, come and look at me, I'm changing. And then you go in with the field work and figure out why.
NASA has selected Fricker and her team for a new laser altimetry mission. It's called Earth Dynamics Geodetic Explorer, or EDGE. Fricker has worked on NASA satellite missions before. She says EDGE will be even more accurate than previous tools. Plus, it doesn't just measure ice.
It's for terrestrial ecosystems as well, so forests and woody ecosystems. So this is actually a kind of two-in-one mission. We're mapping both the ecosystems and the ice at the same time.
Fricker says this will help scientists track two of the Earth's vital signs: how much carbon is stored in forests and how much ice there is.
If we can track and monitor these key signs of Earth, and are we going close to these tipping points, it's very important, because we need to know where we're headed so that we can kind of navigate through this time of unprecedented change.
Fricker and her team first started working on their proposal in 2021. They highlighted the economic benefits of EDGE, like monitoring changing conditions in commercial ship routes.
But it was actually quite refreshing to think about it in a different way, because the instrument is so needed in many ways, and needed for so many industries and across so many different aspects of, our lives.
After years of meetings, presentations, and questions, she got the call while on a walk last Thursday.
And she saw a penny on the ground right before they called. Not that I'm superstitious, but I sort of am, which is crazy. And yeah, when they called up, I saw the number from Virginia. I'm like, this is it, okay. Answer the phone, and they were so nice, and it was such a great phone call.
Now, work can get started on building the instrument. Fricker says the spacecraft will be about the size of an SUV. It will launch from the Vandenberg Space Force Base in Santa Barbara County.
So we'll see it from here. Well, I won't be here, I'll be there, but people will be able to see it from here.
That launch is expected to happen in 2030. Katie Anastas, KPBS News.
The latest reading on retail sales came in lower than expected. The job market has been uneven, and Americans head into Valentine's Day weekend carrying record credit card debt. Karen Kafa looks at how love and money can be at odds in a relationship and has tips for couples at any stage.
In uncertain economic times, talking about money can be uncomfortable.
We did a study. We saw that people would rather talk about politics, religion, even their weight. They'd rather talk about that than how much money's in the bank or how much credit card debt they have. It's important to be honest, though.
Kimberly Palmer, personal finance expert at NerdWallet, says that honesty should start early in a relationship.
If there is an issue, like one person has credit card debt, it doesn't necessarily have to be a deal breaker. It might just be something that you want to talk through, how it's handled and how you'll pay off the debt and avoid building up debt in the future.
And for longtime couples, Ted Rossman, principal analyst for Bankrate, says regular money check-ins are a must-do, starting with budget basics and eventually shared financial goals.
Ideally, over time, you can also talk about more of the long-term aspirational side of this, because that's really what's going to get people motivated, is what are we working towards?
Those conversations, Palmer says, can help couples avoid misunderstandings about money decisions.
Just be open-minded and ask the person, how they arrived at how they are treating money and talking about money. And that can just help you both get on the same page.
Bankrate found baby boomers more likely to say they have in-depth knowledge of their partner's finances. As Rossman points out, they are most likely to completely combine their finances. In Washington, I'm Karen Kafa.
Well, we are transitioning back to a drier end to the week, but that's just a short-term shift in the wind here, as we're going to get much wetter again next week. So showers will be winding down this evening and tonight, turning drier for the rest of the week. Pretty good start to the weekend, and then soaking, drenching rain rolls in beginning Monday of next week. And this next round, it's really a series of storms that will be far wetter than what we just experienced this Wednesday. By the way, I know on the national landscape, there's been a lot of discussion about the cold, extreme record cold and snow in parts of the eastern U.S., but we have been very warm in the western U.S. December and January, warmest December and January on record for 7 states here across the West. The West Coast plus Nevada, Utah, Arizona, and New Mexico. So again, we can't all be warm or cold at the same time. We got the ridge in the west, the trough in the east, been a very amplified pattern with extreme cold to our east and extreme warmth to the west. And we're looking at overnight lows around 52 tonight. Certainly breaking in the mold of that recent pattern as we're going to get back into a time of some wetter weather next week. But you can see Friday, I do want to point out, we're not far from some rain on Friday. Thursday is an uneventful day. Friday, most of the thrust of this next system is going to be south and east of us, but you'll notice there will be the chance for some rain in far inland parts of Southern California. We're probably going to miss out on it Friday here in San Diego, but it is something that's not too far off to the east. We'll keep an eye on that. Thursday, the storm system that's been impacting us here over the past 24 hours pulls away to the northeast. There it is with some rain and some snow in the Great Basin. And overall, we're back up to 66 in San Diego with a mix of clouds and some sunshine. 44 at Mount Laguna up into the high ground, but only down into 71 degrees for the desert floor where you're going to be a lot warmer. Friday, again, there's the chance for a few showers that may exist into areas of far southeastern California. Widespread rain and mountain snow into areas around Arizona. And Saturday, strong start to the weekend, but we're getting ready for it next week, especially beginning Monday locally. I know we say Sunday into next Wednesday for this map at large. Sunday's mainly to the north. Monday, we get into some frequent showers. Some of this will be very, very widespread, off and on periods of rain. So the coastal forecast, here we are, clouds and sunshine Thursday. We'll miss out on it Friday, probably bright for us along the coast, but here comes the rain, some of that heavy beginning on Monday. Clouds will thicken on Sunday, by the way, in transition. Inland areas, here we are with still probably a mostly sunny sky for areas just inland on Friday, but clouds thicken Sunday and the rain rolls in on Monday with temperatures down a bit. Into the areas around the mountains. Here, we may be clipped by a shower or two Friday. Far enough to the east, look out for a shower Friday in the mountains. And then widespread rain and mountain snow roll in on Monday. The flakes return and into the deserts. Here we could also be clipped by a shower. The deserts and the mountains far to the east of the coastline Friday. Kind of a peripheral glancing shot there. And then cooler with widespread rain returning on Monday. It's going to be a very active week ahead. I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Jeff Cornish for KPBS News.
Black Comics Day 8 Heroes Rise returns to World Beat Cultural Center this Saturday and Sunday. KPBS arts reporter Beth Accomando says it is a celebration of black creators, starting with its founder, Keithan Jones.
I wrote and drew this Star Wars story, my own sequel to Empire Strikes Back.
This is Blue Lever. Roll call over.
And my 6th grade teacher gave us an assignment. If you could have anything for Christmas, what would it be? And I said, I would love to have my comic published, or at least printed. And she was able to make that dream come true for me. Fast forward to now, I do this professionally. That's how I make my living. I not only draw comics for myself, I have a slew of clients that I draw comics for.
But he never forgot his origin story. And in 2018, he unleashed his superpowers to create Black Comics Day.
I didn't have a crystal ball, so I didn't know how successful the show would be. I just had a feeling that it was a necessary entity that needed to be to exist. I didn't see a lot of representation, especially back when I was a kid, right? And so we're still on our journey trying to change that narrative and also improve the representation that currently exists. I get to see a lot of the artists that started with the very first show maturate to the show at a higher level from where they started as far as their careers. So the excitement of seeing these artists grow in front of me, or at least their careers grew in front of me.
This year, Jones is trying something new by bringing in fine artist Brittany Michelle.
So I am not an illustrator or comic book artist. I am a fine arts artist. So I do a lot of painting with surreal expressionist style. A lot of my art illustrates what Black culture could mean beyond just the stereotypical things. So it's exciting to be engulfed in this world and welcomed in by the Black comics community.
Through her art, she likes to express her personal journey through life that I think a lot of people can relate to.
And while more people attend every year, Black Comics Day is still intimate, with plenty of opportunities for attendees to meet creators.
You want to tell kids out there in the community, hey, you can be anything, but they don't necessarily see it. So I'm excited for children from our community to come down here and see actual representation in the flesh versus just hearing about it.
That's why Makeda Cheatham, founder of the World Beat Cultural Center, opened her doors to Jones and Black Comics Day.
I'm so glad that Keithan is hosting the Black Comic Day here
I like to see my own superheroes, especially Harriet Tubman as a ninja woman, having her own black Comic-Con. So, you know, a little miniature Comic-Con, I love it.
But the majority of the vendors here are black-owned publishers, and that's what makes this show different from, say, San Diego Comic-Con.
Jones is thrilled to hold the event at a black-owned business that's a thriving hub for Black and African culture. It's the perfect place for young artists to come and network.
Particularly you artists of color, if you come on through, bring your art, show your work to these writers, because they're always hiring someone to do one of their fantastic ideas they have bouncing around in their head.
Connecting with young attendees excites Brittany Michelle.
I work with kids all the time, so it's always exciting to show them that this is a possibility. Being able to see somebody else that looks like you do the thing that you've been wanting to do, that's such an inspiration.
Black Comics Day is a free event, but Balboa Park recently initiated a controversial and sometimes confusing paid parking policy that angers Cheatham.
Balboa Park Association, we fought it hard. We think the parking should be free for all.
Jones hopes that neither parking challenges nor the weather will be a deterrent.
Come get your comic books, come get your art, experience the black culture. And that's another thing I want to make sure that people understand that, yes, it's called Black Comics Day, but this show's open to everyone.
You can also enjoy daily panels and food made from Cheatham's organic garden. So spread the love this Valentine's Day weekend by celebrating Black creators. Fatha Gamando, KPBS News.
Here's a look at what we're working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom. NPR's Morning Edition has reaction and analysis of today's combative hearing on Capitol Hill, mainly about the Jeffrey Epstein files. And KPBS Midday Edition will talk with the creative force behind So Loca, the Barrio Logan fashion brand that's being honored by the city of San Diego. You can find tonight's stories on our website, which of course is kpbs.org. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. I'm John Carroll. Have yourself a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit BillHowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.